Alright everyone, I would like to announce that I am now on LBRY, yet another alt-tech site where I can post my videos and apparently other shit without anyone censoring it. It's got a pretty good design. It does seem fairly functional and also fast, which is interesting. It's blockchain based, it's decentralized. Now here's the thing, here's a little bit of a mini rant on these subjects. I am last gen when it comes to computers. I still use laptops. I don't like the smartphone app-based generation. Sites like this are a little bit much for me, and it's hard for me to go beyond the basic user sort of experience. But insofar as people have actually, in some cases I get contacted by people who lead these sites, which is the case with LBRY, the CEO is contacting me trying to help get me started. That's definitely meaningful for me, because otherwise I'd be a Luddite and I wouldn't figure it out. I would be able to get on the site, but I wouldn't be able to take advantage of the full experience. This is sort of the future of computing. I can see, let me predict the future for you right now. We're clearly moving in a direction where the mainline tech firms are trying to make everything on their sites and their apps proprietary. Which is that in 5 or 10 years, you will no longer have a computer that's locally storing things. Its local storage will be very limited. It'll probably be subject to TOS, whereby even the local storage will be synced to a cloud automatically and your local storage can be deleted too. I am telling you, if you take seriously at all my predictive abilities, you will begin archiving as much material. Books, number one. Music, definitely. Do it totally legally, by the way. Don't pirate any music. Movies, films in general, YouTube material and so forth, independently made or otherwise. Text in any way, even pictures. Archive it. Put it on storage that is secure and is under your control. And by the way, have a computer that is not running Windows 10 or any modern Apple build or anything, or even modern Linux build, I believe now. Have something that is capable of being used as a standalone platform to submit and download material autonomously without being synced to a million clouds and other spyware and stuff. It's really what is being done is the few dozen largest firms have created the ultimate monopoly. It's sort of like a Skynet sort of thing. They are fast moving towards the music that you've downloaded isn't actually yours. You no longer have a file that you technically own or have paid for and now you've purchased it and it is physically yours. It's proprietary, it's at will. If you do the wrong thing, you can be kicked off. This is why these sites now, sites that have nothing to do with content creation directly will kick you off if you do bad content creation, if you're engaged in wrong thing. If you're engaged, e-commerce sites will kick you off if you made a video that's too edgy. You made music that was too edgy and your bank all of a sudden cancels you. It's the internet of everything now. Everything is being synchronized together, and the ultimate goal is to create internet identification, no more anonymous posting of any kind. A situation where a handful of corporations which have been granted complete monopolization will run everything. Everything else will be at least indirectly subjugated to them. Computers will no longer be able to autonomously function. And so what I would say is that any step towards decentralization is good. Any step towards greater anonymity is good. Any step towards locally archiving material is good. And people's ability to manage their user data is good. It's funny because we've literally gone as a society in the West over the course of 10 years from having a national conversation about whether you should put your real identity online to having a national conversation about whether you should be able to not do so. I find that very interesting. So I am on LBRY. Link in the description. Pinned comment has a link as well if you're watching on YouTube, which most of you are. I would recommend that you join me there. It is a stable site. I know that LBRY and BitChute, I think, have sparred a little bit, but I think it's a friendly competition sort of thing, like LBRY taking a swing at BitChute for like their late use of the label decentralized or something. I'm going to use both. Quite honestly, I'm going to use every available alt-tech service that I can reasonably use, and there are like a half a dozen other sites too that are trying to get me to use them for video purposes. Look, I remember PewTube. Just because it's an alternative does not mean it's viable. The reason why I've put effort into BitChute is because I've used my own judgment for this, and I could be wrong, which is why I'm willing to branch out further. I've looked at the manner in which their site is governed and structured and growing over time and said, I have a reasonable suspicion the site, at least over the near future, continues to grow. remain commercially viable, number two, and there are opportunities for my material to be spread to an audience that I otherwise wouldn't reach. The same is true of LBRY, the same is true of Brighteon, to an admittedly at the moment lesser extent, but that could change. There is no reason for me not to use all of these sites. I use Dailymotion, which I think existed before YouTube, if I remember correctly. It is a fucking French site. It's governed by some of the most draconian laws with regards to political speech, but I still use it. I'm going to start making exclusives on Dailymotion, really shock the world. Anyway, think about it from my perspective in closing here. I am a content creator. For all of you watching, the reason that I exist here and I'm on your screen at the moment in semi-two-dimensional form is because you are interested in watching me rant about things. You're interested in videos, maybe you buy books, maybe you just like the gardening and MREs, you're there for the ASMR, the mukbang, or whatever the fuck you call it. Whatever you're here for, I want to give that to you. I'm no longer assured I could do that on mainline tech platforms. Even if those tech platforms don't target me for my political views, they could just target independent content creation across the board and decide to be the next Netflix. YouTube tomorrow could say, okay, the time of independent content creation is over because it's commercially not viable. So anyone that's not getting a certain amount of new subs or whatever, some arbitrary threshold, we're just kicking them off the site. And I could run afoul of some new TOS. Even if I'm covered right now, my ass is covered under YouTube's TOS. Will it be next month? Will it be a year from now or 2 years? Will YouTube be around in 2 years? I don't know anymore. I wish I knew the answers to those things, but I am predicting that there is a shift away from people owning their own computers, their own apps, their own games. Games are proprietary now. Gaming companies will shut you off from gaming if you made a bad review or did something naughty. I mean, it's asinine. It's amazing to believe that this could possibly be held up in the court system as legal in the first place. Apple got smacked down when they tried to keep people from jailbreaking their phones. How is it any different? We're going to need a lot more interference by the judiciary branch in the United States if we're going to have any hope of promulgating the basic rudiments, not even the more expansive definitions, but just the basic auspices of the concept of free speech and privacy. They are basically dead online, and a lot of people don't even realize it. Hell, their right to property is basically being violated on a day-to-day basis. Most of these companies make you sign 20 pages of legalese to use an app or a device, and you don't own anything on it. Your interaction is at will. They can remotely turn off your fucking phone. Is that not dystopian? Yeah, the device that you use to make payments at the store and contact your relatives and call emergency services and interact with all of your friends and family at a bare minimum, let alone maybe your fucking whole career, you can just be tomorrow shut off completely from all of it. You disappear. Stalin style. It's interesting how people have no problem with this. I think that just shows the reason why we should never have a direct democracy, because apparently the majority of the population, fucking idiots, total fucking cretins. That's about all. Peace out.